your hair cut way up high. Get yourself a lawyer, son. You're gonna need a real good one.
A real good one, Tex. You are so right. We got ourselves a lawyer who wears a suit and tie himself. He's cool. He knows his stuff. David Whiting, Melbourne solicitor, who takes your calls and answers your problems. 1300 222 774. David, good morning.
Good morning, Virginia.
Should we go straight to homework?
Yeah, we had some homework, and it was David from Brunswick, and David's problem was that he lived in a block of apartments and his water pipe is in the floor of his apartment and the ceiling of the apartment below, and it's leaking. Now, the question is, who pays for the repairs? And I must say I don't have a definitive answer, because I can see that as that provides the delivery of water to his apartment, it's something from which he benefits. But if you lived in the apartment downstairs, wouldn't you benefit from the absence of the rain that's coming through your ceiling?
Isn't this why we have body corporates? You all have a joint responsibility.
Yeah, look, you do. And in terms of joint responsibility, in my research for David, I found a beautiful case concerning the old railway building in Spencer Street. Beautiful building down.
Oh,
the
yes,
railway line.
that's one of the old Port Authority buildings, isn't it?
No, it's huge. It's between the station and the river.
Yes,
and
I know that one. Yeah,
Yep,
I thought that was one of the old Port Authority buildings.
There are two copper domes in that building.
Right. It's a hotel now, I think.
It's a part hotel and part apartment. Okay, and so you could either live there or put your property in the pool. Two copper domes, and under one dome is a bedroom for a particular apartment, and under the other dome is a bedroom for another apartment. Yes. And the Owners Corporation found that the cost of fixing the dome was $154,000. So they decided, using David's principle, that the person who was going to benefit from the waterproofing of the dome was the unit owner below.
Right.
And given it was $150,000, wouldn't you be a bit annoyed if somebody says, I want to fix the roof in the building, but I want you to pay for it? So they went off to VCAT, and VCAT had absolutely no difficulty saying that the integrity of the building was an issue that was relevant for the whole of the building.
Yeah, look, it's interesting. I don't know if the law is different here in Victoria to New South Wales, but I have a dear friend who lives in a body corporate situation in Sydney where a block of flats and a totally separate attached house, the double attached house at the front, are part of the strata, part of the strata organisation. Yep. And when things go wrong with the apartment block, an entirely separate building behind, and the concrete has to be fixed or the plumbing, everyone gets stung. Yes. And she'll get a letter saying, please cough up 50.
Your share is.
50 grand, for something that I keep saying to her, sell and get out.
Can I say the law is different here in Victoria, and there was a similar case concerning a converted school with a slate roof and a building next door that had a colorbond roof, and the people in the building with the colorbond roof objected to paying for the slate roof in the old building.
But they were part of the same strata.
They all started the same plan, but they got no benefit from the waterproofing in the building next door. Can I say that they were successful, and only the units in the building with the slate roof had to pay?
Maybe I should.
So that's a positive.
Maybe I should advise my friend to take this matter to court.
or move the building, whatever.
Whatever is easier. And you've got a very interesting, in reflection on the body cam, the police body cam issue, which has become quite controversial, David.
Well, there was a front page article in yesterday's Age, and it talked about police cams, and it said that the police had the right to turn them on or off as they wished, didn't need to tell you whether they were working or not working, had the right to delete images and had the right to edit images. Well, I would have thought at the very least that's interfering with evidence as to the commission or non-commission of an offence or what was said in an interview. But I think at a time when we've got, I don't know, we want to trust the police. And we've got the Nicola Gobbo Royal Commission that's running at the moment. And here's another issue where someone comes along and says, no, we want to be able to do what we like with what we've got, and we want you to trust us. Well, I've got to tell you, leave them on all the time. There was a murder in the United States, or a killing in the United States by a police officer.
Justine Damon Ruszczyk?
Where the principal evidence was the body cam.
Yeah.
So,
and I think as a community, we know that from time to time that body cam footage is going to be difficult, compromising. It'll be a situation where the police officer has some regrets and maybe even makes a mistake. But that's the nature of our truth-finding legal system.
yes.
Your errors are taken into account, and therefore it's the charge is manslaughter and not murder, and there is a significant difference in there, or something else altogether, or maybe even defence. But we just need to know the truth.
Yeah, and the camera's more is better evidence than somebody's recollection.
Absolutely right.
And on a much lighter note, would you spell Mackenzie with a space between the MC and the K, or would you?
No.
Well, can I tell you, in Vic Roads they do.
Why?
I have no idea why, but there was a report in the paper last week that someone wasn't able to get evidence of their identity because someone at Vic Road has decided that MC Kenzie needs to have a space with the MC and the K.
So they can't be found in the computer?
You can't be found in the database, yes.
That's quite good.
Yes.
I'm going to put a gap between the T and the R in Trioli, I think.
Okay. With an apostrophe?
It's an apostrophe. Yes. And there's an umlaut over one of the vowels as well,
okay,
I think.
Yes.
Look, just to, make me hard to find. Because of
much
course,
harder to find.
Much harder to find.
Yes.
Our number is 1300 222 774. And Richard in Blackrock, you are through to David Whiting. Good morning.
Good morning, Virginia. Good morning, David.
Richard.
It's a question about the Child Support Agency.
Yep.
My daughter's husband walked out some years ago. He's paid no child support for the last 4 years almost. The Child Support Agency, when they run on a regular basis, say, well, we keep writing to him.
Yes.
And that's all they say they can do.
Richard, do we know whether he has anything? Is he self-employed? Does he work for somebody else?
He pays no tax and he claims no Centrelink money.
Yeah, so the answer... look, I've been involved in one where child support writes letters to employers and requires compulsory deductions. But if you are completely and utterly under the radar, there is no child support obligation. So if he doesn't have if his income level is below the assessable level, there's no child support obligation. So what you need to do is prove that he's got a job or he's working and what his income is.
Which isn't easy, of course.
No, nigh on impossible, because my view is the price that you would pay to a private investigator to follow him around for a month would be much better spent on your daughter.
Yes, and they rub salt into the wound by telling my daughter how much they calculate he now owes her, which runs into tens of thousands of dollars.
Who's they,
Child
Richard?
Support Agency.
Child Support Agency.
Agency.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, of course, and I guess that's their job to calculate because they would like to see it there as well.
Richard, does he own a house?
No.
Okay. Does he own anything of particular value?
I've no idea. We haven't heard from him for over 4 years.
So if a child support works on the system as I'll fix your amount, and if you've got an employer, I'll make sure you get it paid. But if there is no evidence of income or assets, there's nothing that you can do.
I thought you'd probably say that.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but that's just the way it is.
Yes.
You've got to find what he has. So what kind of business is he in?
Well, he was the chief executive of a business.
Okay, and he isn't now?
No, he's not.
All right. Do you think he has a reasonable superannuation amount you can have a go at?
Well, he does have super because when they split up, my daughter got a share of that.
Okay. But you'd need to look and see whether that is for periodic maintenance or a lump sum of a property settlement. And if it was just the former, just a property settlement, you could actually have an attempt to add some of that for the child maintenance obligation.
All right. Look, good luck with that, Richard.
Right.
I understand well how difficult a circumstance that is, and we wish your daughter all the best. Let's hear from...
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lynn in Essendon, good morning.
Good morning, Virginia. Good morning, David. I'm ringing on behalf of my daughter, who recently had a weekend away with her partner at a B&B.
Yes.
And they left a 3-star out of 5 review.
Yes.
And the owner of the premises is threatening to sue them for slander.
Yep.
What'd she say?
Well, can I quickly read it out to you?
Please.
Well, it depends.
No, read it out to us. Just don't tell us what the property was. Don't want to make it worse.
I won't say that. So my girlfriend and I had a comfortable stay at the da-da-da-da. The room is really spacious and the furniture is nice too. But it's the little things that count, and that's where they've missed the mark. Cheap branded plates and glasses, specific branded coffee pods and muesli, hardly a continental breakfast. I see how much effort the owners have put into creating a beautiful space, and in that they have succeeded because the room looks awesome. But don't cheap out on the little things when you're charging $400 a night. Also, there was a small blood stain on the sheets and lipstick stain on one of the dressing gowns. They also incentivise 5-star reviews by offering customers the chance to win another night's stay. I wonder what the ACCC would have to say about that.
Lynn, there's probably only one difficulty I have with your daughter's review, and that's the comment on skimping on the little things. But right. You're entitled to an opinion. You're entitled to express your opinion.
It's not defamatory.
I sat down with somebody last night about a defamatory action, commencing proceedings for defamation, and we wandered off and had a conference with a barrister, and we were told that the cost of issuing and maintaining the proceedings could be in the order of $100,000. Yeah. I've got to tell you, they can cope better with your daughter's review than they can with a lawyer's bill for $100,000.
You have no idea, David. This man has just gone schizo with abusive comments back to them, and he's almost slandering them.
And is that appearing on his website as well?
No.
Well, why would you not add that back to the review? Anyway, Lynn, the question you asked is, do I think that you're at risk as a result of the review? The answer is not at all.
And do tell your daughter not to engage with whatever this man might be doing or attempt his contact. But yeah, it wouldn't strike me as a risk, and that's the danger of reviews, isn't it? And actually allowing people to have their views on your website. Take the comments section down if you don't want to hear that stuff. It seems to me. Yeah. Lynn, thank you. And we don't use the term schizo on this program when we're speaking about that sort of response. So you can call me PC, but I don't like it as a phrase. So there you go. Harry in Balaclava. Good morning to you.
Well, good morning, David and Virginia. My question is about if you have an accident that doesn't involve police, what are the obligations of the two parties in terms of exchanging information?
Names and addresses, Harry.
Only names and addresses?
Yes, there's no need to... there's a question as to whether you need to prove who you are. I don't think that's correct. I think it's appropriate. It's necessary for you to give names and addresses, but it doesn't go to the extent of providing copies of driver's licences or phone numbers or email addresses.
Right, and what about if you ask for the insurance company?
Well, that's the insurance company sits behind the driver of the other car, not in front of them. So you have no right to know who their insurer is at all.
So if they give you a false name and address and all you've then got is the rego of the car, how do you then pursue it when they then...
Well, first of all, I'd probably take a photo of them as well as the damage, and you can make an application to Vic Roads to identify the owner of the other vehicle.
Okay, what, by email or...?
No, you need to fill in a form and pay a fee.
Right, to Vic Roads?
Yes.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good to hear from you. Thanks for calling in. 1300 222 774 is our number. If you'd like to get some advice this morning from David Whiting, 19 minutes past 10. David, we have Don in Altona on the line. Hi, Don.
Hello, Don.
Good morning.
Go ahead.
I purchased a motorhome and paid a deposit.
Yes.
And before a cooling off period would be finished, I notified them that it really wasn't the vehicle for me, and I expected that they would end the contract and give me my money back. But they resisted that.
Of course they did. They wanted you to buy something else, something bigger.
They say that the the exception to the cooling off period is if the vehicle being sold is a commercial vehicle, and I think it's interesting as to the commercial vehicle is not defined in the contract, but I would have thought that it might be for non-commercial because it's built a body built on it which is to relive in for pleasure purposes.
So did you buy the truck and the body separately, or did you?
No, it's all finished.
Right, so it's a completed unit with a single brand name, and here it is. I'm of your view, Don. I don't see it as a commercial vehicle. You bought it. I mean, if you'd come and bought the cab and chassis from me and the body from somebody else, I'd have an argument with you.
Yes.
But I say if the way you've described it, it's a single unit, not for commercial purposes.
Right.
So I would go for it, but if you listen next week, I'll look and see at the Australian consumer law and see if there's any cases as to what constitutes a commercial vehicle.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Good
Don.
on you. Thanks for calling in, Don. Thank you. Jenny in Brighton, hello.
Oh, hi, Virginia and David. I've got a question. I live in a unit, it's a middle of 3 units, and they've sort of got their own driveway access, and the only really attaching thing is they're attached on the wall of the garage and also have overhanging eaves. They were built in about 1975.
Yep.
So with one of my neighbours, the downpipe from the roof goes directly onto my single garage, and when it's heavy rain, and even when it's not that heavy rain, my garage roof has a lot of water to deal with, and it runs into the gutter, but it's too much, and it floods my garage all the time. So, I've learnt to sort of keep things off the ground. And
Jenny, you said the unit's 1975 or thereabouts.
Yeah, about that time.
Have you looked at the strata plan, and are the eaves part of the common property, or are they part of your neighbour's unit?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't sort of have the, I don't know.
Well, how long have you, when did you buy?
7 years ago.
If you have a look at your contract, there'll be a copy of the strata plan or the plan of subdivision in your documentation.
Yeah.
And it will show the boundaries between the units. If the eaves belong to the common property, then it's an owners corporation matter.
Yeah.
And if the eaves are in the unit next door, then it's your unit next door's problem. I would probably try and deal with it as an owners corporation issue. And it may well be that...
You don't have an owners corporation. There's no...
Well, can I say at law you do?
Oh, okay.
The owners corporation comes into existence upon registration of the plan of subdivision. So it might be inactive.
It is inactive.
But it absolutely clearly exists, and you can use, for a dispute between you and a co-owner and you and the owners corporation, you can go to VCAT and resolve disputes in the owners corporation list.
And if the owners corporation has lapsed or is not sort of inactive, well, then there's an opportunity here to convene one, right?
Most people absolutely love it. You see lots of 2-unit developments where where everybody ignores the owners corporation. The big problem with small owners corporations is that you still need to have public liability insurance for common property. So if there's a driveway, and if you've got buildings that are partially on top of one another, then you are required to have building insurance.
Okay.
So, Jenny, have a look at the strata plan, work out from that whose issue it is. It may well be that if they own the roof of their unit, it's their problem.
Jenny, good luck with that.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Andrew in Paran, good morning.
Oh, good morning, Virginia. Good morning, David. It's regarding a traffic accident, which was my fault. I put in a claim with the insurance company. They're processing the claim, but it appears although the damage was slight, the other party are claiming too much money, and my insurance company are disputing the claim.
Yes.
So the other party are now served me. Well, they didn't actually serve me personally, but they left documents on my doorstep and rang me up and saying that, I have to go to court. I rang the insurance company, and they say not to worry about it. It's just intimidation.
Well, it depends on what the document is. If the document is a magistrate's court summons, is it?
Well, it
says complaint?
It says complaint, yes.
Right, okay.
And in the magistrate's court.
And it's got a number on it, has it, or is it just a pro forma document?
It looked like the proper document.
Okay, then the answer is you bring that you get a copy to your insurance company, and while you may have an obligation to go to court, all of the costs will be picked up by your insurer.
Yeah, I have forwarded it to them. Yes. Okay, thank you, David.
Pleasure, and I'm sorry you got to this point.
Yes, I think the guy must have taken it to his mate or something, and they said, "Oh, we'll make a bit of money here." I think that's what happened.
Who knows? Andrew, good on you. Thanks for calling in. Miyuki in Thornbury, good morning.
Good morning, Virginia and David. How are you?
Very well.
We are thinking of purchasing a property in commercial zone 1 as our home. And we've got a young child, 8 months, and we've got a background research and talked to a current tenant of the property, and they are saying that the house or the building in front of our property or their property is currently used as a business, and the workers there often come at the back to smoke, which drift into the home at the back, the home that we are thinking of purchasing. Yep. And I've spoken to the people who work there, and they were quite reluctant to move their smoking area because if they smoke at the back of the front of the house, it's not really good look for the business. Yes. And I'm just wondering what sort of regulation or action that we can take because I don't want to purchase a house where the smoke comes in because we've got a young child, 8 months old.
Sure.
There is no law that prevents them smoking on private property.
Yeah.
All right. Now, there are a number of cases that talk about, in fact, the leading case talks about a mine, where leakage in a mine leaked into another mine. And by extension, you would have an action. But the problem you've got, though, Miyuki, is that your action is probably against the smokers.
Yeah.
So it's not, while you do have the right to take them to court to restrain a continuing nuisance and obtain an injunction to prevent the future nuisance, your claim's against the smokers, not the operator of the business.
And if I go down that path, what's the likelihood of me kind of winning or getting my way? Well,
my view is that you are on just about every value that I know, you'll lose. And that's because you'll get a judgment against 6 people who are smokers. Which of them are going to be able to pay your costs bill?
Yeah. And how enforceable would it be anyway?
Well, my view is, let's say we get a judgment for say $30,000 for taking on the 6 people. Yeah. What are my chances of getting my $30,000 back?
And it's not even about the money, is it, Miyuki? It's really about just getting them stopping smoking. Do you think a campaign of winning hearts and minds might work? I mean, I don't know if the law is the right approach here. Maybe a continued conversation so that they understand you have a very young one in the backyard, and is there some compromise you can reach?
But that's something that I would feel stressed about. And I just don't want it to be in a house where I would feel stressed about smoke coming in. I have to talk to them. I
get it.
Yeah.
Is the house really worth it?
That's that's the point that we are kind of at the moment. Yeah, I don't know.
I have real difficulties. You come along and you say, well, I guess the people next door smoke, but I'm going to move in and I'm going to stop them.
Yeah. No, look, I take the point of both sides. I think smoking outside, though, in a sort of not a shared area, but an area where you know the smoke is going to drift across.
You mean like the street?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't smoke. I don't like cigarette smoke, but
Miyuki, good luck. I don't know if we can help you with that. That's a judgment call you might just have to make on your own. Daniel in Footscray, good morning.
Oh, good morning, Virginia and David. I went to court about a year ago, and the magistrate appointed a legal aid lawyer for me for the next hearing. And on that next hearing, instead of a legal aid person, legal aid sent a third-party lawyer, like a private lawyer, to come and be the person.
Yes.
And they represented me on that day. But then the next day, after the court case had finished, I sent text messages to the lawyer saying, hey, can you do this, or can you make sure they don't return the subpoena documents? I need to get a copy of these things and stuff like that. And the person just didn't reply. So my question is, does that lawyer who's appointed for the one day have an obligation to then continue to deal with me the next day if it's reasonable, my request?
Well, it's a question of what you contracted to get. if you contracted for representation on Monday, then once that representation is completed on Monday, the engagement is finished.
But, I mean, I didn't engage them. They were appointed by the government effectively because...
I understand, but they were appointed for a particular defined purpose.
But if they're not cleaning up the... me having to sort of clean up after their mess the next day by saying, can you do this, can you do that? That was a function of them not doing it on the first day. So
I don't know. If there was something they should have done on the first day, then you've got the right to insist on it being done. But you'd actually need to sit down and say, well, what was the order made? What was the scope of the engagement provided to the lawyer? And then you're in a position to say whether it's not a question, look, on one level it's a question of your expectations, but on the other it's an issue of the, actually I'd be talking to Legal Aid because they're the people who were appointed. Legal Aid then subcontracted the task out, but on the way you've described it, it's a legal aid issue, so why not ask them how those issues finished off?
And you need to establish whether it was just going to be a one-off event from Legal Aid. They just weren't able to sub someone in on that day, so just a one day only, and they will be taking the case on. Do you have another court date set?
Yeah, well, it's. I'm going to have to go back myself and sort of seek a revocation. It was about a domestic, or what they call domestic violence intervention thing.
Yes.
And the person was only appointed to do the cross-examination of the affected member. I was the defendant or the respondent, you know. So the legal aid appointed lawyer was only meant to do the cross-examination, but on the day, the magistrate did a switcheroo and said, no, that lawyer, this new lawyer who'd arrived in the morning without preparation, would do the whole day. So they didn't really know the whole case, or they weren't prepared. They did a bad job. The next day I tried to follow it up and say...
We got your first point about what you want to follow up. So what's the response here, David, because we're right out of time?
Well, I'd be going back to Legal Aid and saying, look, it all went off the rails and I need it fixed.
Yep. David, really good to see you this morning. Did we have any homework coming out of that today?
One piece, and that relates to whether a motorhome constitutes a commercial vehicle.
Yes, indeed.
So I've almost got the week off.
Well, we do what we can. David Whiting, our celebrated Melbourne solicitor, who's knocking down everything in the studio as he leaves. Honestly, they're cutting the budget, mate. I mean, we can't really afford to replace many things. But who does this out of the goodness of his heart for you. And thank you for joining us with your calls and your requests this week. We'll have him again back next week on Tuesday.